We are welcoming our third guest to the Haifa Award. Emre Arolat is the design partner at the international practice EAA, which has offices in New York and London and Istanbul. He was selected as an honorary fellow at the EAA in 2019 for his significant contribution to the architecture and society. He taught and lectured in many institutions, including the advanced studio at the Yale School of Architecture as Norman Foster visiting professor, a master studio at the Berlach Institute in Delft. Arolat was the co-curator of the Design Biennale in 2012. He was awarded a professorship by International Academy of Architecture, Sofia. The practice project City Theme Park, selected by the Mies van der Rohe Award for European Architecture. His practice also a recipient of the Aga Khan Award of Architecture in 2010 for the Epicule Textile Factory. Arolat served on the Aga Khan Award for Architecture Master Jury since 2016, also appointed recently to the steering committee. The practice work also exhibited in renowned institutions, including the Design Museum, the Royal Academy of Arts, and the Royal Institute of British Architects in Dariba in London, and were presented at the International Architecture Biennale in Venice in 2012 and 2016. Thank you, Emre, for being with us. And I'm leaving the stage for you. Welcome again.
Thanks a lot, Abed. Thank you for this nice introduction as well. And good evening to everyone. Today, at the first part, maybe I can try to give you some brief information about my architectural adventure, if you want. Maybe from the beginning until now, as a brief. Then I'm going to present only two projects in a more detailed manner. I mean, I will talk about some other projects as well, but I'll do a presentation in a detailed way for two projects as the distinctive examples of our design approach, together with the resources, reasons, and the arguments, and our understanding of context, which I believe is the primary component of our work. Sorry. Okay. Speaking about context, on the other hand, on one hand, we all know that we are living in a world which is becoming smaller and smaller every day, with the effects of widespread, let's say, global tendencies. This old sphere is much more flattened now in these days. In his book, Sapiens, we know that Noah Harari talks about the attractive allure of consumption frenzy and says, consumerism tells us that in order to be happy, we must consume as many products and services as possible. If we feel that something is missing or not quite right, then we probably need to buy a product, a car, new clothes, organic food, or a service, housekeeping, relationships, therapy, or yoga classes. This is funny, but of course the pandemic was an unexpected break for all of us. But I really believe that we will do our best to forget the impacts of it, of this intrusive period, if you want, and pick up all our eagerness. Don't worry, I believe that we will continue to our lives very soon, because this is the climate of all that is solid melts into the air, as Marshall Berman borrowed from the legendary and deep thinker oracle of the last century and stated ingeniously. On the other hand, this is not just an economic phenomenon. actually this lunatic evolution, let's say, manipulates manipulates every corner of our lives, and it is producing a kind of a cosmical epidemic. Uh, the world is burning out, really. Uh, This time we can say that the truth melts into the air, like all other solids, maybe. And it won't be wrong to consider this situation as an epiphany of neocolonialism. I think that a specific question or a, let's say, certain subject could be meaningful to discuss now uh, in this very moment. What could be the role of the architecture or the architect in this period within this global context? I feel that quite important. Okay, I'll get back to this, but let's go another era now. I invite you to Turkey, to a country which is highly affected by capitalist tendencies. My parents, who are both architects, established their first office in Ankara, which is the capital city of Turkish Republic, and then moved to Istanbul after 7 years. On my teenage years, I was dreaming to become a professional car racer, but I don't know, but somehow I found myself in the architectural school in Istanbul. And just after my graduation from the University of Mimar Sinan in Istanbul, I went to US. This was in late 80s, and he worked there as a junior architect in Metcalfe and Associates office in Washington, D.C. for about a year. And after this extremely pleasant and fruitful period in Georgetown mainly, once again, I was in Istanbul and joined to my parents' office. As a very brief summary, I can easily say that Arolat Architects, my parents' office, was my principal school. But after 17 years of hand in glove, I felt that I should graduate from there too. And in 2004, we established EAA, Emre Arolat Architecture, together my partner Gonca. And it was the forming period of Turkey's last generation progress. And we had lots of work at that time. Just after 4 years, we became one of the most prolific offices of the country with more than 100 young architects. But even with this large group, we were always keen on conserving our ethos and spirit, and we tried so hard not to become a large-scale, toneless corporate office with a lack of soul, let's say. Instead, potentials of public benefit, let's say sensitivity about the context, and internalizing various situations with all their distinctive characters. They were always the main issues of our practice. We design at very different scales, like the Zorlu Center, nearly 1 million square meter of mixed use at the heart of Istanbul, or a single family house in Miami at the same time. And we face various contexts in some different countries and cities like Bodrum, London, Miami, Albania, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or Dubai. Some other examples: a museum in Batman, a housing complex in Oman, a mixed use in Baku, a cultural center in Bergama, or a refurbishment project in Brussels. A high-rise mixed use, the St. Regis Hotel, and the Contemporary Art Museum, all in Istanbul. Another museum project as adaptive reuse of an old constructivist movie theater in Moscow, a restaurant in South River, Miami, and an extremely ecological office complex in Dubai. A housing project in Lisbon, a villa in Dubai again, another mixed-use complex in Kazan, Tatarstan, an ethnographic museum in Budapest that coexists with a park, and some recent urban scale projects in Albania at the shores of Ionian Sea. or some airport terminals in various contexts, such as Dalaman, Istanbul, and Cyprus. As you see, we design at various scales and various contexts as well. And through our practice, we have received many architectural awards, such as the Aga Khan Award, as mentioned, Miss van der Rohe Award of European Union, RIBA International Awards, and several winnings at World Architectural Festival. Uh, I can easily say that we are active in the academic world with tutorships and lectures. I ran several studios in Europe and in the US. A couple years ago, we ran a studio at Yale, again, as mentioned, Yale School of Architecture, with my partner as Norman Foster visiting professors, with a group of very well respected architects such as Frank Gehry, Bob Stern, Peter Eisenman, Elia Zengelis, and Deborah Burke. I'm a chartered member of RIBA since about 6 years, and I was elected last year as an honorary fellow of AIA. And the plurality among our works and the sensitive approach to each work regarding its specific situation was the reason of the title of our first Rizal in New York book, Context and Plurality, named by the editors Philip Jodidio and Suha Özkan. And our second book by the same publisher, Rizzoli, has been published recently, pointing at the increasing number of international works. This time, it is named as global and local. In 2014, I mean, after 10 years that we established EAA, although we were very busy with some really large-scale projects in Istanbul, we opened a second office in London. And since then, we are dealing with various kinds of projects, such as mixed-use, residentials, and hospitality buildings in our office in Clerkenwell. This is a residential project, for example, in Reading, near to London. It's half refurbishments, half new additions, with some fragmented volumes in a very specific context. And it's under construction. And these are from my last site visit before the pandemic. It's another one, again, in the same area, another addition and refurbishment at the same time. So always site and situation specific projects, and trying to reach all the distinctive traces of the context, actually. Scent of the Trace, which is the title of this talk, is also the name of our new book, which is recently published by Oro Publications, Oro Editions. I believe that the introduction text of Aaron Betsky is really brilliant, and the readers will find the traces of our philosophy inside. Okay, coming to US, we opened our office in New York about 3 years ago, and it's in Soho, in Manhattan. And since then, we dealt with various kind of projects, such as residential, private houses, and hotels, mainly in New York and in Miami. Okay, as I told you before, I'm going to present you two projects in a more detailed way today, as distinctive examples of our architectural approach. The first one is in Istanbul, Turkey. A couple of years ago, a foundation called Sancaklar got in touch with our office about a project for a new mosque. To speak honestly, as a prejudgment, I thought that they were looking for a replica of an Ottoman one. Because in Turkey, even today, when you design a new mosque, the first thing that you have to face is the figurative burdens of the classical Ottoman mosque as a weird anachronism. I told them immediately that I'm not that kind of architect, and actually this first meeting was finished in a very bad way. But on the other hand, I'm a big fan of Ottoman mosques, and I find them extremely beautiful. But today, I mean, after, let's say, about half a millennium, or maybe more than half a millennium, uh, even though the everything, I mean, the construction techniques and everything are totally renewed. Actually, I find this expectation quite pathetic, and it's an issue that we face every day, and we are kind of accustomed to see brand new replicas or even some caricatures every day in the country. These are two examples from the latest part of the 20th century. The one on the left, a replica in Ankara, with more reasonable proportions maybe, but combined with a supermarket, and the one on the right, which is in Mersin, rather than minarets, you can easily think that, believe that six rockets will start their engines soon. Here on the left, you see the original Selimiye Mosque from 16th century, one of the masterpieces of architect Sinan. And on the right, the brand new Ataşehir Mosque, uh, built in 2010 in Istanbul as a clumsy replica of its original. And what is worst, in my opinion, the name of this mosque is Mimar Sinan. I don't think that he's very happy about that. A few days later, after this first meeting with them, the head of the foundation called once again, and he came to the office with this picture, saying that they were willing to build the mosque there. And to say the truth, I was extremely impressed by the lake and the untouched aura of the valley. And additionally, he said that they were ready to give me a realm of freedom, let's say. And this time I thought that I should accept the project. Uh, I mean, even maybe I can say that I should try to do. Uh, in the beginning of the design process, we went back to the roots, to the antiquity, let's say, in order to find a way of radicalization. And we saw that masjid simply means a place to prostrate, and does not dictate any form. It has to be clean, and that's the only condition. Uh, so in a way, we understood, we believe once again that uh, anywhere on the earth can be a masjid or a praying space. And we discovered one more time that there is no formal definition for a mosque in the Quran or in other source. And so, in this very moment, instead of searching for new and extravagant forms, we try to reach to the essence, and this was the essence of ritual of praying, if you want. On the other hand, we realize that due to the intense pressure of global capitalism, Islamic architecture is passing through a dangerous period, and this is the danger of losing its virtue and maybe its identity, its real identity. I think that a very good example of such contamination is Mecca, where the Kaaba is, and is the most sacred site in Islam. But over the years, Mecca has transformed from the center of the earth, actually, to the center of tourism. And nowadays, it's a kind of prime real estate asset. Big construction companies build luxury homes and seven-star hotels, and I think that with this kind of intentions, we cannot talk about modesty, nobleness, or humility, or let's say unpretentiousness. Does not live here anymore in Mecca. Take another example, the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi, one of the latest landmarks of Islamic architecture, as said, which became famous for having the biggest carpet in the world or the most bombastic chandelier. But it's a place for diplomatic visits. Yes, I can say that it's a tourist attraction. a place to see and to be seen at. Of course, a platform for Facebook or Instagram. Uh, Never mind. But okay, let's go back to our subject now. The essence, once again, with the mark of, let's say, modesty, humbleness, and humility. Sancaklar Mosque is located at the outskirts of Istanbul, and it's an initial photo of the site. As you can see, it has a lovely view overlooking the lake and the wild-looking landscape. So as an important decision, we put the form away in the beginning of design process, and we aim to discard all cultural burdens which could affect the purity of our consciousness. And in this respect, we try to somehow suppress the architectural language, of course, as much as possible. Actually, it's not wrong to say that this mosque is trying to tackle with the formalistic attitudes of mosque architecture going on in Turkey. And how we did it, we thought we could play with the topography a little bit. And we placed the main spaces below, the main halls below. And with the help of a simple slit, we got natural light into the main hall. And now, while approaching the land, we almost see nothing than a courtyard enclosed by horizontal walls and a vertical mass, which is the minaret, and the signifies the place actually. And this is the upper courtyard. Um, the other angle and the funeral place. The cascades following the natural slope, they are turning into the stairs at one point. And we come to the lower part where you can find the entrance of the main hall, the ablution rooms, library, and a small tea corner. Natural materials as local stone and timber together with water was the main elements of materials of this project. And like old Islamic Ottoman complexes, actually, this is a place for gathering as well as praying. And I find this quite important. This is, I mean, the outer spaces are like spaces to be alone or to meditate. Of course, some other users can have some meetings there, which I'm very happy to see everyone here. This is the Imam House and the tea corner, the Imam House entrance at the left-hand side and the tea corner at right. And these are the entrances of the main hall and the ablution rooms underneath this cliff. And we are inside of the mosque now, inside of the main hall. You see the mimbar, mihrab, and the natural light washing the Qibla wall, which is reflecting all kinds of colors as the main interior design or main decoration of the space. And the wow letter from Mehmet Özçay. He's a very special calligrapher. And unlike the conventional mosques, here women can pray at the forefront thanks to the planimetric strategies. And believe me, this was one of the most challenging issues of let's say of the cogency process during the whole process. Especially on Fridays, the mosque is full, and I'm very happy about the embracement of the community. Okay, the second and the last project of today, which I will present in a detailed way, It's another mosque which is not built yet, and I believe that this one can use the same light, let's say, that Sancaklar, the previous one, the previous project turned on in Istanbul. But this time it's another one. It's a slightly different light because it's a very different context. Uh, are there any similarities? Maybe we can talk about the essence of praying once again, or about humbleness, but in a very different way, maybe. And it is designed for a wealthy young businessman from Emirates, from Ajman, who lost his mother lately, and he wanted me to design a mosque for her memory. Her name is Nora, as you all know. Nora means light, and it was very important for me. A ruthless illness actually suddenly took his mother from Rashid in a, let's say, untimely manner. And I remember our first talk. I was traveling in a night train on my way to New York, coming back from Yale, where I was teaching at that time, and it was maybe midnight. It's been only 2 weeks, he said. He struggled for years to save her. He left no treatment untried, but in vain. I could feel the pain in his voice, even from thousands of kilometers away. It was very clear and visible. A few weeks later, in an entirely different geography, he comes in a Tesla to get me from the hotel, and quite unexpected from a man who makes his living largely from oil. Plus, he was driving himself. We all know that it's not a custom there for such a rich man. But I remember that I realized instantly his well-educated intelligence along the way to the land, and actually his interest or even his love for architecture. He said, I want I wanted to build a mosque in my mother's memory, and I hope it will help to change this terrible feeling I have inside me. And I have studied mosque architecture. I saw lots of mosques. I made a wide spread of research, and suddenly I found Sancaklar Mosque, and I didn't want to talk with any other architect. Uh, we arrived at Ajman after quite some time and went toward the city center. And I saw that the built environment was strangely disorganized, and it was quite obvious that the city was changing its skin. Big and small, high and low, all mixed in together. Uh, Here we are, he said, when we arrived to the land. We get out to the car and begin to walk. It was midday, and it was so hot, and I thought that it should be horrible in the summer because it was not a summertime there. Okay, the lot is surrounding by the roads, by roads. The sea lies northwest, but not visible from the ground level. We discovered that you should go up about 15 meters to see the sea. But the worst of all, huge residential buildings rise behind us. They make a thick, gigantic wall, and they are around 35 stories each. Uh, I find myself murmuring, uh, there's context for you, I said to myself, nothing to do with Sancaklar. Seems that it will be very hard this time. A few days later, I'm back in New Haven, in Yale, in a, I'm in a simple university hotel. Especially don't turn on the lights in my room. Night and fog were falling together, and the city was completely steeped in gloom. And I was sitting at the wooden desk by the window. My eyes were here, but my mind was thousands of kilometers away. Uh, since it is impossible to deal with those giant structures, those skyscrapers behind us, we should throw the ball from another corner this time. I quickly turn on the table lamp, and beside it are the hotel notepad and a soft pencil. And I made my first sketch. Uh, okay, Nora Mosque and Community Center actually is a building which is nothing more than a contextual structure once again, like the all other projects of us. And just as Sancaklar Mosque, which was designed to be nothing more than a contextual building, and just as Sancaklar, which was not asserting to create a new typology for mosque architecture. Uh, Along the history, the mosque has been always the center of Muslim communities, as we know, where a number of people of the community meet and pray in certain times of every day, and and even higher number of people meet for Friday prayer. And for that reason, we propose to our client adding somehow a number of cultural spaces and some recreational spaces as well to enrich the community's experience there in this land and strengthen the bond between the mosque and the community. Uh, First of all, we thought that by carving out a connection between the busy highway with its commercial activities and the residential neighborhood on the north side, we can maybe generate a connection that people could use on daily basis, and this will actually trigger everyday opportunities for some interactions as well. Then we started rising the ground slowly to formulate various spaces on the site, and the street has become to be a canyon like. And we stopped rising the ground at the level and inclination that allows people to climb up the shell all the way to the high terrace, and of course overlooking to the sea on the northern part. And the edges of the shell then cantilevered to cover the canyon, reducing the solar gain. Spaces under the shell gets penetrated with natural light, uh, washing the surfaces of the space with indirect light once again. Uh, and the greenery cracked the surface of the shell, leading the way to the top of the journey, let's say, where the sea waits on the other side. Uh, Okay, light was one of the main phenomenons of the narrative of the project. So all of these slits and cracks worked for the light to somehow percolate inside in a controlled and diffused manner. And this is what we see from up during the night. And this is the entrance point of the canyon, and you see the symbolic minaret, and the park is going up to the terrace. Some views from the canyon like slit from the street, let's say pedestrian street, connecting both streets and various functions of the building as well. Again, only one natural material, which is kind of travertine, is used in this project, together with some exposed concrete. And the sustainability was another very important design specific, and the cross ventilation was a crucial factor of design. and we created numerous inner gardens for this purpose. And I can briefly say that instead of competing with the harsh building stock nearby with these skyscrapers, the complex was designed with an approach that creates its own unique and the alluring ambience, a composition of shell-like platforms rising from the earth, and you see some images, some latest images, the shell and the terrace. And I think that this approach has created a strong and at the same time a kind of tensioned relationship with its base formed between the building and its earth context. And you see the slits. This is the main praying hall. The effects of cuts and slits and the interior gardens on both sides, enriching the space. Okay, at the final part of this presentation about Sancaklar Mosque, I mean the previous one, I emphasized my belief about turning a new light on. Now I want to tell this once again, a modest light for maybe a very small part of the world which is losing the sense of truth day by day. And I'm going to ask the same question one more time, if you don't mind. What could be the role of the architecture or the architect in the spirit within this global context? So until now, in EAA, in Istanbul, in London, or in New York, I think that nothing is so different. We are facing this situation just frontally, and even in this atmosphere, which is quite weird and let's say uncanny, instead of being affirmative or let's say a kind of current systems unworried agent, without questioning what's going on around us, we believe that a producing architect could take a critical position and undertake a more open role, and it's very important. Coming to the end, let me read you a quotation from the Quran, even if I'm not an expert, or I'm not an expert, let's say. This part is my favorite. Don't walk upon the earth bragging. You can never cleave the earth, nor can you reach up to the mountains. Thanks a lot. That's all for.
Thank you, Emery. Thank you very much. Guys, we have 15 minutes to have your questions. If anyone wants to start, nobody? Okay, I will start mine. First of all, thank you very much. It's very rich career and very dense practice. My first question is, do you think that the role of the architect gonna change in a post-COVID-19 era? Do you think we should come to bring another agenda, a new agenda for architecture?
Okay, thank you for this question. It's kind of unknown period for all of us, and it's a very unique period as well. We never saw this kind of thing in our lives. None of us. And I really don't know when it will be. No, I mean when everything will be normalized. But what is the meaning of normalizing? This can be a bit changed because I mean before we were always talking about, as architects, somehow promoting the publicness, promoting the with our designs, promoting the public realm and being together in different various contexts. And I was always defending the idea of having very different parts of the society together in a well-designed atmospheres and the spaces. So different social classes, I mean, mingling different social classes is the richest part of architectural, let's say, design period, in my opinion. So in a way, people are thinking, I mean, not a majority of people, I'm not sure about that, but maybe a considerable part of people, even, I mean, including architects, they think that this phenomenon will change and we will deal with this, let's say, with this new conditions in a different way. And then we will be somehow more individual and the understanding of space will change 100%. And then people will be willing to live within their families and not going out too much. And then that's why the understanding of housing will be changing. Yes, of course, maybe that some things will change. And then I hope that we learned from this pandemic process as well. We learned that we are disturbing the terra firma, we are disturbing the earth, we are disturbing the world, and we have to uh, be conservative on this, and then we have to consume maybe less and be careful when we are doing this. These are the positive things, but I hope that this mentality of individualism will be somehow disappear in a very near future. And I believe and I hope that one more time architecture will be a very valuable asset to make people get together in different contexts and in various spaces with well designed and the meticulously done spaces. This is I think that it's my hope and I believe that it will come true.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Nicole. Can you read it or you see it? It's
Uh,
about Nora Mosque, and she has concerns about the open spaces, I mean the ceiling, concerns about the rain and the dust that would come in, and about the cleanliness of the area.
Yeah,
Uh,
actually, yeah. Yeah, now I'm able to read. Thank you, Nicole. But actually, this is not an open space. I mean, these are all glassed, and then the inner spaces are somehow, of course, in some places, including the main praying hall. This is air conditioned, and this is a closed area. In some seasons, it will be our pleasure to use the cross ventilation factor, but not the whole year, not in the bad times, let's say. But in the public spaces, in the open spaces, this kind of ventilation was one of our issues, one of our critical points. But at the end of the day, the main hall and the other main spaces are closed. They are not open.
okay, Arwa, do you wanna ask?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to thank you for the very informative presentation. In the Saint-Jacques Mosque, you were trying like to have, so there's like a relationship between space, emotions, and the human senses, and also like the religious or the spiritual aspect that you're trying to convey in the design of spaces inside the mosque. And as we all know, like in traditional mosques, decoration is really important. But in this project, like it was unlike the very mosques that we are used to, in which you used like uh, certain, aspects like the use of materials, concrete, the lights, the sounds, and the various feelings that are inside the space, and it has like a monumental side of it. So were there like any aspects that you planned in a certain way but users used in another way? Like how are people using it now? What are their interactions? Are there any scenarios of users that you were surprised by in a certain way or you did not expect?
Actually, I can confess that I'm a bit surprised about the embracement and the people's, let's say, uh, acceptance, because it was a gray area for all of us as the design team. And I can easily say that in the design period, every day we were discussing about this project, and then we were somehow trying to create the intellectual framework of this project. And we were always finding ourselves to discuss about the community's reactions. And I was always saying to my colleagues in the design team, we should forget about that. We should do whatever we find perfect, and afterwards see what's going on, because kind of a contamination can come, and then we will see how this will be going on. But at the end of the day, I believe that negative contaminations are somehow acceptable, because I mean, if the community is doing something with a mutual, let's say, written or unwritten agreement, I believe that the building deserves this. So in a way, I was always saying this, repeating this to my colleagues, and please don't be nervous, or don't be, let's say, affirmative, and let's do whatever we find which is correct. So at the end of the day, uh, yes, there was some negative, let's say, reactions. Even some in some newspapers, it was written that this mosque is coming from some, let's say, hidden powers and of maybe some missionary of Christianism, whatever it is. And this guy, which is me, the architect, is not a Muslim. He's from other religion, uh, and then it was like very minor thing in the society, and I was really impressed by the embracement. The only thing which is not very surprising but went wrong, let's say, a bit, was the height of the separation, let's say, wall, which is kind of a translucent wall between the woman and man, because the height is 1.40 meter, and after all, not the woman but men's were a bit, let's say, unhappy about that. There were no some I mean, there were no comment from women, but men's was like that. And then they put an additional, let's say, separation elements in this one, and then now the height is 180, something like this. But it's not original, and we designed, after all, we designed this separation, I mean, this additional separation on top of this 1.4 meter height separational element. And I believe that they will build it in a few months. But this is the only thing. And yes, I can say that the management of water outside was not very easy for the foundation. And sometimes they are not work. I mean, the fountain is not working. They made some management. They are blaming us about the difficulty of the management. and they are always asking us to do a change on this size of the fountain. I think these are all, but the most surprising thing, rather than everything, was for me. I mean, we designed this mosque to emphasize the humility, to the let's say the humbleness. But at the end of the day, people are coming with buses from different countries just to see the mosque, just like the one which I criticized before. I mean, Sheikh Zayed Mosque in Abu Dhabi, for example, which is not a comparable because it's a huge one and our mosque is a very tiny one. But at the end of the day, it became somehow well known in the country and others in the other geographies, and people are coming just to see the mosque. And it's not a it's the I think it's the ironic part of the architectural profession. I mean, with it is to be humble and not putting itself to the scheme. But I mean, it's very well known now. It's a kind of dilemma, I say.
Okay, guys, we have room for one last question. Anybody? No? Okay, I will exploit the chance to ask. I have a question. Actually, I saw some of your lectures before, and you said that when you just entered the Ottoman mosques at the first time, it has a powerful impact on you. But when I saw now the project, well, I wondered what power do you mean? But I can see now it's two projects you just now presented. I can see that you feel the power, you can see the power, which is still not there. I mean, is it an intangible power that you see in the site and you just bring it out as a structure, as an experience? Or is it a material, really tangible power that you see and you just do a small act and here's the project? I need to understand this. This is the talent, actually. I wish I have it, but really I need to understand that.
Thanks a lot. Actually, Abed, I mean, maybe it's not very easy to describe this because it's not only one thing, in my opinion. It's something like a kind of a package, and the maybe the simplicity is one of the elements. I mean, one of the key. Only one material, or maybe very few materials are there. Uh, the kind of readability, or let's say a kind of visual continuity, or kind of liquidity, if you want, is another issue, in my opinion. And I believe that a mosque, I mean, not only a mosque, a praying place should be like kind of a meditation place. And then you have to be, you have to have the chance to not to see lots of things, to feel just the atmosphere, to feel that there's something going on there, but you're not burdened with all of these decorations, elements, colors, and everything. I mean, somehow this kind of abstraction, I think, brings you to another kind of space, which you are not very accustomed to be in. But when the seconds are passing and when you are kind of getting accustomed to the space in 2 or 3 minutes, I mean, this is what I feel when I'm there. Uh, you somehow find, I mean, you somehow create a relationship, a very individual relationship, or very special relationship with the space, because the space is yours. I mean, there are no burdens, there are no, let's say, extra elements, and you are able to stay with yourself or with God. I mean, whatever you want. I think it's the, I mean, two of them are very similar things. Uh, that let's say, experience is unique, in my opinion, and it's not about only religion, it's not about only spirit, it's not about only space, but it's about all of them, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. We are very happy having you. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
My
They are
pleasure.
beautiful projects, and we all learned from them. And hope to see you face by face very
Yes,
soon.
yes, hopefully. Thank you for the introduction once again and for the valuable questions. Thanks to
Thank-
everyone who listened to us.
Okay, bye guys. Thank you for the audience. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Putting itself to the scheme, but I mean it's very well known now. It's a kind of dilemma, I say.
Okay, guys, we have room for one last question. Anybody? No? Okay, I will exploit the chance to ask. I have a question. Actually, I saw some of your lectures before, and you said that when you just entered the Ottoman mosques first time, it has actually a powerful impact on you. But when I saw now the projects, I wonder actually, I wondered what power do you mean, and you meant them. But I can see now I mean, in the two projects you just now presented, I can see that you feel the power, you can see the power, which is still not there. I mean, is it an intangible power that you see in the site and you just bring it out as a structure, as an experience, or is it a material, really tangible power that you see and you just do a small act and here is the project we are experiencing now. Um, I need to understand this. This is the talent, actually. I wish I have it, but really, I need to understand that.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Actually, Abed, I mean, maybe it's not very easy to describe this because it's not only one thing, in my opinion. It's something like a kind of a package, and maybe the simplicity is one of the elements. I mean, one of the key. Only one material, or maybe very few materials are there. The kind of readability, or let's say a kind of visual continuity, or kind of liquidity, if you want, is another issue, in my opinion. And I believe that a mosque, I mean, not only a mosque, a praying place should be like kind of a meditation place. And then you have to be, you have to have the chance to not to see lots of things, to feel just the atmosphere, to feel that there's something going on there, but you're not burdened with all of these decorations, elements, colors, and everything. I mean, somehow this kind of abstraction, I think, brings you to another kind of space, which you are not very accustomed to be in. But when the seconds are passing and when you are kind of getting accustomed to the space in 2 or 3 minutes, I mean, this is what I feel when I'm there. Uh, you somehow find, I mean, you somehow create a relationship, a very individual relationship or very special relationship with the space, because the space is yours. I mean, there are no burdens, there are no, let's say, extra elements, and you are able to stay with yourself or with God. I mean, whatever you want. I think it's two of them are very similar things. That, let's say, experience is unique in my opinion, and it's not about only religion, it's not about only spirit, it's not about only space, but it's about all of them in my opinion.
Okay, thank you very much. We are very happy having you. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
My
They are
pleasure.
beautiful projects, and we all learned from them. And hope to see you face by face very
Yes,
soon.
yes, hopefully. Thank you for the introduction once again and for the valuable questions. Thanks to everyone who listened to us.
Okay, bye guys. Thank you for the audience. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.